what's going on? Look what showed up. Took a while to get here. I waited patiently, but the template has finally showed, and I am going to do a unboxing of it right now. Protected in cardboard. That's all that's in there. You know, if I got that laser thing working, I'd be able to do this myself. So you get a pick guard, control cavity cover, you got a neck pocket, gives you a measurement for it. And then the body itself. So the body itself, okay, where am I sitting on here? Here we go. The body itself, I need to cut. I need to cut this part here. Cut this part here to make the V, make the star. I'll be using this. I won't be using this, I won't be using this. This is going to get glued in. I'll have to relocate some of these controls because they gotta go this way, not this way. So this has gotta get glued in because I'm gonna need to cut through it. So I can leave the tape on there, but I need to put some to protect the countertop from the CA glue. So what I want to do with this is fill CA glue around the edges. Get a wick. Cut the wick a little bit. Is put CA glue, make sure this is flat. And glue that back into place. Using the thin CA glue because it'll get inside there and it'll flatten itself out. I don't need any of this, so all I'm going to do is just glue all this down too. What I don't want is anything to move when I do the cutting of the template. Now I can remove this stuff here, but the problem with it is I can risk the router kind of catching on some of these edges, and I don't want that to happen. Now this I can pop out, but I want to put it in here. I'll put this one here, because this is going to be a modified template only for this guitar, because I have to cut out this part here, this part here, this part here, this part here. So I have to remove two pieces here. So this template is only going to be for this body style of the guitar. And that'll be the Mick Star guitar. So everything that is around this body that I don't need is going to be glued in place. So I really don't need a template for the pick guard because I'm not going to put a pick guard on here. This one here will be cut somewhere over here. Then you can cut over here. And you can cut over here. And you can cut over here. So this is going to get all full. Alright, so let's turn this template into reality. Now I have 3 photos that I have as a reference to what I need to do with this template in order to recreate this body. And it's not very easy because the photos aren't very clear. I can't really measure anything, have anything physical to measure. So I'm just going off of what I'm looking at and what I've got in front of me. So the corners here are sharp corners compared to the template here, which they are rounded. So I'm going to have to trim those out to be a nice sharp corner. And when I do my routing, I'll have to use some other wood cutting tools in order to notch that out, or it's going to be a lot of sanding, whichever one comes first. Now, when you look at the back of the guitar, this is the arch that's on this template, but when you look at it, if you take a ruler and kind of like match up to edge where I rounded off at, that point doesn't come down all the way down to the edge of this template. And when you look at the photos, neither does the photo either. So this had to be drawn back in a little bit, and I had to figure out how I was going to do that. In order to keep the sharpness of this point here, I have to trim off a little bit on each side of it, keeping the angle not that big of a deal. And all this space here that you see marked off is what needs to be cut out of this template in order to recreate this guitar. So I got 2 choices. I can either use a jigsaw and then go back with some sandpaper and finish off the edges, or I can use my belt saw and still have to go back and finish off the edges with sandpaper. So the body has now been cut out. Now there's no going back. This is what it is now. So in order to figure out if these lines are really straight, I have a metal ruler here. And what I'm going to do is put it on top of the line, right on the edge of the wood itself, and feel if there's any rocking and rolling or see if there's any gaps, and then use a sanding block to get that nice flat and straight. And I'm going to go through all of the edges that I cut, including this one over here, and make sure everything is nice and straight, so when I put this on the actual body of the guitar, start doing the template cutting and routing of the body, I think it's going to be nice, straight. There's not going to be any goofy lines or anything. So I'm going to get started with this. The Mick Mars Star Guitar template is complete. There's really not much more I need to do with it, but put it to work. So all these edges have been cut, sanded straight. All these inner corners have been filed to be a nice sharp corner. All of the round points are all rounded the same way. Now these 3 here are pretty damn close to being the same all the way through. This one's a little bit on the sharp side, but I ended up doing something with the template and the actual photos of the guitar, which are only 3 of them, and they are very poor quality. Now, holding the template on an angle and taking photos of the template, because when you change the angle of something, it also changes kind of how it looks. So the actual guitar is being held by Mick Mars, and each photo, actually the 2 photos, 2 different ones, it's being held in a different angle. So the one that he's holding the body over his head by his neck, by its neck, I was able to match up that body with the angle template, and I can't ask for anything better. This thing, without having the actual body in front of me to measure off of to make a template, this thing fits right on top of it, and the other fits right on top of this. Perfect. I can't do no more. So I was concerned and worried about how this was going to be where the bridge area is. So if I put the bridge on here, you've got a little bit of room here and you got a lot more room here. This point goes a little bit past the bridge. This one goes a little bit into the bridge. And that's exactly what this template is. So I don't think I could do any better than that. One thing that I learned about the wooden templates compared to an acrylic template is that the wooden ones, now this one has been laser cut, all right, so it's burned on the edges from the laser. Now I have that same machine that do this. I could be making these type of templates if I had the machine set up. And I bought the extra long rails to do this, but again, I have to have it set up. Now, when you have the burn-in over here, it actually makes the wood grain tighter and seals the wood. It makes a lot stronger area. When you do modifications like I have done with this, it's actually made the wood kind of like loose and not as strong as it was, and you got an open grain. Well, one thing that I read years ago was taking CA glue to it and kind of just wiping or brushing on some CA glue over the open grain, and it tightens it up, and it also makes it strong for the bearing for your bit on your router to ride on with no problems at all. So this one here is ready to go. Now all I have to do is get the body blank, and I need to plane the top and the bottom of the body blank. I need to flatten them out, and I need to get it down to a thickness that's close to the actual body of the guitar, but with extra wiggle room for sanding. Now, I looked at some information online, basically for the Explorer or Star guitar. It's about like 1 3/4 of an inch thick. All right, so I want to have it a little bit thicker. That way, I have some room for sanding. So I got to kind of like whittle that down a little bit before I can start doing anything with the template. This has 2 mounting points on it to mount it to the body blank. One's under the bridge and one is in the pocket for the neck. And these holes are already burned in and they're actually cut through. So all of the holes here for your neck mounting, your pickup ring, also for the pick guard and stuff, everything's been cut, even for either going with a tunematic bridge, a wrap over, and you got your tail stopper here. So I'm going with a hardtail, so this is not going to have the tail stopper or a tunematic, but I do have a template to use to put those bridges on here if I really wanted to. So I want to try to make this as close as to the original as possible, with the exception of color. It's going to be black, but I'm going to do something else with the color, and this guitar is basically going to be for somebody. And yeah, so mounting it here and mounting it here locks the template to the body, hiding basically the locations of these screw holes, because you'll be routing this out. I am going to have a back plate on the neck, so that's going to be locked down really nice and secure. This one will be underneath the bridge, and I could possibly use that pilot hole as a ground wire for the bridge itself. Then using the second template, which is for the neck pocket, which I didn't do any modifications to, I don't need to. Basically, it's going to be mounted in the same hole right here. It's going to be a 25.5-inch scale. And the problem with this is, well, this one here, because I have to remove this area, well, I'll no longer have a mount. But double face tape on the back of this, then remove the screw, remove this area here for the template, and I'll be able to have a secured template that I can use for routing. And here are the cutoff pieces that I ended up trimming off over here and over here. So you can see how much I ended up removing as far as material goes. These are nice pieces of wood. I think I'll keep them around for a little bit. Might be able to make something or do something with them later on. So I have a different neck coming from the one that I ended up purchasing that was going to be for this guitar. And this is basically a telly neck that will fit this pocket. So I ended up ordering another neck Reason being is I decided to use that old neck as a guinea pig for a little bit of an experiment that I was going to do to try to make a different type of inlay. So I was using, I think it was like 3 different things: my wood burner, my actual router with a very thin bit, and the Dremel. So I used it as kind of like an experimental thing with the neck, and didn't work out the way I wanted it to. It kind of did, but it kind of didn't. So I didn't like it. So I ordered another neck that's going to be for this body. And again, with just like the green Les Paul, I'm going to have these guys taken out, and I'm going to end up doing my own inlays inside of that neck. So it's going to be pretty cool. Hopefully it works out pretty good. So far, everything is falling into place with this. The one thing that I wish I could do is find more information about this guitar, like how many has actually been made. You know, is there 2 of them floating around, or is it just the one that Mick Mars has? Well, if that's the case, this will be number 2. All right, you guys take it easy. Have a good one. I'll catch up with you all later.